When he woke up, everyone was gone. The silence felt strange at first, like the city was holding its breath. He checked his phone. No messages, no calls, no notifications. Looking out the window, the streets that were usually crowded stood completely empty. Assuming it was some bizarre holiday or emergency, he got dressed and headed outside. The elevator worked. The lobby was abandoned. Cars sat frozen in place while traffic lights changed endlessly for no one. He enters a nearby cafe. Coffee still steams in untouched cups. Half-eaten meals remain on tables. The cash register is open. He screamed for anyone to answer. No one did. He ran through block after block, searching every building he could find. Every room, every street, every hallway was empty. Television stations still broadcast signals, but the news anchors were gone. Eventually, only emergency test screens remained. He drove across the city, searching for life, then searched airports, train stations, and every place where people should have been. Airports stood deserted. Aircraft sat abandoned on runways. Trains still contained luggage, bags, and personal belongings, but not a single passenger remained. That night, he returned home. The city lights still glowed outside his window, but the silence had become unbearable. For the first time, fear replaces confusion. He locked every door and whispered into the darkness. "Hello?" No one answered. Days turned into weeks. He broadcast messages over radio frequencies, learning emergency communication systems and sending calls across every channel he could find. Only static replies. He learns how to operate emergency communication systems. Every frequency remains silent. He drove across neighboring cities. Everywhere looked the same. Empty. Abandoned. Refusing to stop, he taught himself how to fly a small aircraft and searched farther than roads could take him. Entire countries appeared deserted. He visited famous landmarks that once welcomed millions. Now they felt like forgotten monuments built for a species that no longer existed. To preserve his sanity, he began recording daily video journals. The camera became his closest companion. Months passed. Then the power grids began failing. Entire regions fell dark one by one. Nights became darker than any he had ever known, revealing stars that humanity had hidden for generations. Realizing civilization would soon lose its last remaining systems, he relocated to a hydroelectric facility and spent months teaching himself how to maintain it. Somehow, he kept the lights on. For a while, entire sections of the world still glowed because one person refused to let them die. One morning, he celebrated his birthday alone. He baked a cake, lit a candle, and sang to himself. Halfway through the song, he broke down crying. Years passed. Nature slowly began reclaiming the cities. Trees pushed through concrete. Grass covered roads. Wild animals wandered freely down abandoned highways. The world was forgetting humanity. Except for him. He remembered. He documented everything. He preserved photographs, journals, recordings, and memories. If the world forgot humanity, he refused to. 10 years passed. His hair began turning gray. His journals filled entire rooms. He spoke less and less. Sometimes days passed without hearing a single human voice. Then weeks passed without him speaking at all. Silence became normal. To soften the loneliness, he created mannequins and placed them around his home. He gave them names.
He knew they were not real. He never pretended otherwise. Yet he talked to them anyway. Not because he expected answers, but because conversation itself was comforting. 20 years passed. Most cities had become forests.
Skyscrapers barely peaked above endless canopies of trees, and nature ruled places once dominated by humanity. During an exploration of a forgotten research facility hidden beneath the wilderness, something impossible was discovered: an underground archive still operating after decades. Deep inside, thousands of preserved files remained untouched by time. Among them was one file that stood apart from all the others: Project Exodus. With trembling hands, the recording was opened. The truth that followed shattered everything believed for the last 30 years. Scientists explained that humanity had discovered a cosmic event unlike anything ever known. It would not destroy the Earth, oceans, forests, or cities. Instead, it would destroy human consciousness itself. Facing extinction, humanity created a solution. Project Exodus was a system capable of transferring every living human mind away from Earth before the catastrophe arrived. The transfer was successful. Overnight, billions vanished. Not because they died, but because they escaped.
Humanity survived somewhere beyond Earth. Then came the final report. Among billions of successful transfers, one entry stood out. One failure. One person left behind. A synchronization error had interrupted a single transfer. There was no conspiracy, no abandonment, no decision to leave anyone behind. Humanity believed everyone had made it. For the first time in 30 years, the truth became clear. The world had not forgotten him. Humanity had not abandoned him. He had simply been lost. Overwhelmed by the revelation, he searched deeper through the archive. Scientific records gave way to personal messages. Then he found something that stopped him cold. A video, recorded just before Project Exodus. The face on the screen was his daughter. 30 years vanished in an instant.
Looking directly into the camera, she spoke softly. "Dad, if you're seeing this, something went wrong." Tears filled his eyes as she continued. She explained that after the transfer, they waited for him. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Search efforts continued. Hope remained. "We waited for you," she said. "Wherever we are now, we never stopped looking for you." Every lonely birthday, every unanswered radio call, every silent night spent believing he had been forgotten suddenly carried a different meaning. Somewhere beyond Earth, people had searched for him. Somewhere beyond Earth, his family had refused to give up hope. Then came the words that reached deeper than anything else. "You gave me the best life I could have asked for. And if we never meet again, I love you." For 30 years, he had carried grief. In a few short minutes, that grief transformed into something else. Love, relief, peace. The message had taken 3 decades to arrive, but it arrived. After that, his memories became more precious than anything else he owned. Night after night, he watched old family videos. Faces of loved ones filled the screen. People who had vanished decades earlier remained frozen in time, forever young, while he continued aging alone. One evening, he climbed a hill overlooking the ruins of a city. The skyline barely remained visible beneath endless forests. Looking out across the reclaimed earth, he felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Peace.
As the sun sank below the horizon and golden light spread across the forests, he sat quietly beside the camera. Beside him also rested the device that had carried his daughter's voice across 3 decades. He listened one final time, closed his eyes, and allowed himself to rest. The questions were gone. The loneliness was gone. The fear was gone. He had spent 30 years believing he was the last human alive. Instead, he discovered that he had always been loved, always remembered, and never truly abandoned. His journey finished. For 30 years, he had carried the story of humanity alone. Now, at last, he closed his eyes for the final time. The last human was gone. Somewhere beyond the stars, humanity survived. Somewhere beyond the stars, his family waited. And carrying that hope with him, he finally found his way home. Whereas the forests continued to grow, rivers continued to flow, birds continued to cross the evening sky, the earth continued exactly as it always had, silent, peaceful, forever.